Okay, this is Block 8, Pax Americana, Section 1, Post-War America, with the section beginning Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon is from the Midwest. He is born to a working-class family, if he's lucky. Dad was kind of jobless very often. Moved his family to California, where Nixon was an excellent student and was elected to Congress in 1946 on an anti-communist platform. Nixon did not like communists and made it very, very clear. He came of age in California. He had a very strong personality, was very determined to kind of get what he wanted out of life, and was elected to the House on this anti-communist platform. And Nixon becomes a national figure in the polarizing case of Alger Hiss and Whittaker Chambers. Here's Alger Hiss. Alger Hiss is a prominent New Dealer. He works in the AAA, he works for the State Department, he is a progressive, he is close with Roosevelt's top people. Alger Hiss went to Harvard. He is, in a sense, he is urbane, sophisticated. He is everything a good progressive is supposed to be. And in the late 1940s, he was accused of being a spy for the Soviet Union. He was accused by Whittaker Chambers. Here's Whittaker Chambers over here. Whittaker Chambers was also himself a communist spy. And Whittaker Chambers had a change of heart, and he converted away from atheistic communism. And the story of how Whittaker Chambers converted is a very powerful one. Chambers was a lifelong communist. He worked with Alger Hiss before, during, and after World War II to pass American secrets to the Soviet Union. And then one day, Whittaker Chambers had a baby. And he was in, him and his wife, obviously. He didn't have one himself, that would be very weird. But Chambers is sitting in the hospital looking at his newborn son, and he just started looking at his ear. And he saw all of the amazing intricacies of his newborn son's ear. And at that moment, Whittaker Chambers says, God exists. And if God exists, you can't be a communist. And Whittaker Chambers converted away from communism on that day. And he, after he had converted and became a very, very serious Catholic, he accused Hiss of sending secrets to the Soviet Union. Official Washington could not believe that Alger Hiss was a spy. Hiss demanded a trial, was given one, and was shown to be lying on many different occasions, and he was convicted of perjury. This was not an acceptable verdict to most all of progressive America. And if you were to join the ranks of progressive America from the 1940s through the 1990s, you had to believe that Alger Hiss was innocent and that he had been set up by Whittaker Chambers. Whittaker Chambers is aided by Nixon. Now, what we have here is, we're going to talk about this in a second. This is what turns the Eastern progressive liberal establishment against Richard Nixon. To the day Nixon resigned his presidency in 1974, he was hated by progressive America for his role in the conviction of Alger Hiss. And then there's Chambers. Like we said, a former communist. He had a change of heart. He blew the whistle on Hiss's treason. The trial was sensational. It was followed all around the country and all around the world. And Chambers presented evidence that Hiss was hiding secret government documents on a pumpkin on his farm, in a hollowed-out pumpkin. That Chambers brought federal investigators over to the pumpkin that was used as a drop-off point. You know, Hiss would leave the documents in the pumpkin, and then in the middle of the night, a Soviet handler would come and pick them up. And in a dramatic move, you know, they opened the pumpkin, and there was all of these tapes, and Nixon shows them off, and people think, progressives think that Hiss was set up. Conservatives believe that there's 1 million people like Alger Hiss in the country, that there's communists everywhere. Progressives believe that, you know, Whittaker Chambers is this awful person who is out to get, he doesn't like, he has a personal vendetta against Hiss. It's a big old mess. Chambers is kind of a sad soul in and of himself. He's abandoned by all of his friends on the progressive left and became persona non grata in those circles. And then for the rest of the 20th century American history, he joined forces with William F. Buckley and helped relaunch American conservatism, which had been kind of floundering around since Roosevelt and the New Deal. So this case was kind of one of those things that divided Americans. There was progressively minded Americans that Hiss was obviously innocent, he was set up, and anti-communist Americans, conservative Americans, that said that Chambers and Nixon were heroes for releasing this information on Alger Hiss to the rest of the world. And it wasn't just Hiss, they said, that there must be communists throughout the entire American government.